Hey guys, and welcome to the Foxden Star Wars The Last Jedi review. And just real quick, right off the bat, what I thought of the film. It was decent. I had and when I say decent, I'm not talking about the plot. I'm not talking about the action scene. I'm not talking about anything other than when I walked out, I was like, I had a good time. It wasn't amazing, but I had a good time. And we'll dive more into like the details of the movie, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it as like a must see right now, other than you're gonna want to avoid spoilers and things. But as far as a movie experience goes, I thought it was 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 maybe, and I enjoyed myself. Now, getting into it, just so you guys know how I feel about Star Wars, I like it. I'm not a super huge fan, but I do enjoy the movies. I like the original trilogy. I even kind of like the episodes 1 to 3. I think I actually really liked episode 3, but I did not care for Force Awakens. I don't like rewatching movies all that much, so when I watched Force Awakens, I was like, this is the same movie I've already seen. So I'm just rewatch. I just paid a bunch of money to rewatch a movie that I already saw with different names for the characters. And so that wasn't all that great for me. And then I watched Han Solo die for seemingly no reason. I don't know. It bugged me. Didn't love it. Got out of it. And wasn't too happy with the experience. This movie, I think it definitely has some issues, but not bad. Not a bad experience. Looked good. It was kind of fun. I'll start out with what I liked about the movie. Now, this is going to be a spoiler review, so please, if you have not seen the movie, do not listen to this if you're planning on watching it later. What I liked about the movie was Kylo Ren's story arc. I feel like they did a good job of explaining what Kylo is and what his motivations are, because I feel like that was really lost in The Force Awakens. I didn't really know, like, is he just like a angry kid? Like, what is he? I don't understand what motivates him. So it's really cool to see in this film what he, what drives him. And I think essentially we see that after they kill Snoke, that what drives him is power. But his flaw is that he feels he needs somebody. He doesn't like being alone. And I think that was a cool thing to see in the movie, and to see him, he wants power. He wants to be in charge. He wants to be respected, but he doesn't want to be alone. And he tried really hard to get Rey to follow him there. Personally, some of my theories is that Kylo lied about Rey's parents to get her. It's kind of that whole thing with women where, if you talk down to them, make them feel bad about themselves, then they'll kind of be drawn to you. I feel like that's probably what they did. I don't know for sure, obviously, but that's my kind of theory and prediction for that. I don't think that Rey's parents actually just were junk farmers or whatever. I think that we have yet to know who they are and where they came from. So there's that prediction. Some other things I liked. I thought it looked great. I enjoyed a lot of the battle sequences at the end on the planet with the salt on the ground. I thought that looked amazing. The way that they did that scene. Other than that, there's not a ton that I loved about the film. And that's the thing. That's not to say it's a bad film. I just want to, before I go into the cons, I've already kind of said 6, 7 out of 10. That's not bad. That's not a bad score, in my opinion. But I think there's definitely room for improvement. I think a lot of mistakes were made. And I think that there was kind of a middle finger given to George Lucas in this movie, personally. One thing that I've had a problem with Star Wars in the past, I'll just get this out there. I don't like how they just keep adding to what the Force can do. I know that technically may not be wrong or whatever, but I think it's irritating. I think it's lazy. I think when you give a character too many abilities, it's lazy. It's not as fun. It's not as intriguing and interesting. I think that's what's the problem sometimes with even superhero characters. With Superman, Batman, all these, they'll just have shark repellent, like a dumb thing that it's just lazy writing. Instead of having them figure out a way with their current skill set, they just give them an ability that all of a sudden is a thing. And I think Star Wars has been doing that more and more as the movies have gone on. And I don't think it benefits the franchise, personally. That's just my opinion. Obviously, you can have your own. I hated the Force FaceTime, whatever that was. It was just like mind link. I'm like, I don't remember that ever being a thing. I don't know why it's a thing. It doesn't seem to matter all that much. I'm like, if it was a thing, why weren't Luke and Leia doing the whole mind link, seeing each other in each other's minds and talking? I don't think it's helpful to the universe that they're in. I don't know. Big pet peeve of mine was that. It just didn't make that much sense to me, and it just seemed a pointless way to give dialogue between characters that aren't near each other. And it didn't make a lot of sense. To me, obviously. I wasn't a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of the destruction of the Jedi and Sith concept. I understand that balance to the Force has been a big, not theory, a big theme within the movies. You got to bring balance to the Force. And I think that what has typically been the case in the past is that there is more evil than good, so good has to rise to meet it. And I think that's been a intriguing and interesting thing to watch. It's always the hero rising to the occasion, rising to the challenge. And now it's like there was too much good, and then the bad has to rise. I'm like, okay, I kind of get that. But then to just do away with the light and the dark and just say like, there has to be a balance, so just wing it. I'm like, it's just kind of, to me, it just seems like, because it didn't work a little bit some of the time. I don't know. I think the Jedi and the Sith are what makes Star Wars interesting. And then just to toss that out the window, it just becomes a Rebels versus the Empire or First Order now. That's not nearly as interesting to me. I think the Jedi Order was what really intrigued a lot of people. And what was cool about the movies was the Jedis. She has to train to become a Jedi. But instead, Luke Skywalker's like, I'm going to burn it down. Then he tries to change his mind. Then Yoda weirdly strikes the tree down with a Jedi lightning bolt and lights it on fire. I don't know. Wasn't a fan. Thought it was stupid. Not a fan of where that's going. But time will tell. Hey, maybe it's a good move. I don't know. But personally, I think it muddies the water and I don't know. Someone else mentioned that there seems to be kind of almost a lack of aliens in the Star Wars universe. It seemed like they were kind of like expanding it, making it more interesting. It seems Disney has kind of taken 10 steps back in that regards, to where maybe there's a couple aliens that you recognize, but it's mostly humans. Like, it's almost entirely humans, which I think is a detriment to the franchise as well, and the universe they've created with Star Wars. I think that it was a mistake to include the casino stuff. I thought the movie felt long. When they were trying to get to the planet to hide in the mine or in the fortress or whatever, I thought that right after he had killed Snoke and then they were trying to get to the planet, I thought it was going to end there. And then it went on for another 45 minutes. I felt like that was too long. I kind of wanted the movie to be over at that point. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the fight on that planet, but I feel like I would have been more anxious to see what was going to happen next had I not kind of felt like the movie is already long because of the pointless casino scene. Unless Benicio del Toro's character becomes very important to the movie, I don't think there's a single reason to include that whole scene, which felt very long as well. Between Finn and Rose. I don't think Rose is a very interesting character. One of the worst parts of the movie, I think, was including so much slapstick humor. It doesn't fit Star Wars. It feels like they're just kind of trying to slowly cram Star Wars into that Marvel formula and that cookie cutter formula for making Marvel movies. Just to have lots of goofy, witty characters that just say jokes and stuff like that. I don't think it works for Star Wars, and I don't appreciate it. Like I said, movies, different for everybody. I know that they're not trying to please me in particular, but looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score, I do think that is very accurate. I think about half, maybe a little more than half, like it. I don't think anyone really loved it. I think roughly the people that loved it are the same amount of people who like absolutely abhorred it and hated it. I think most of the people were like, I kind of like it, or didn't love it. I don't think there was a lot of people that were like, oh, this is great. So I think, honestly, the last score I saw was like 56% audience rating. I think that's pretty accurate. I don't think it's a bunch of internet trolls. I think from the people that I've talked to that are friends of mine, some of them are hardcore fans. Some of them are just like, I just watch Star Wars like when it comes out. I'm not like rewatching it every year or whatever. And I get roughly that, like, I didn't really like it, and it was okay. It was good. That seems to be the typical response that I've been hearing from friends of mine. So yeah, I could have done without the casino scene. When you think about it, it has almost nothing to do with the film whatsoever. It doesn't affect what happens in the film. It's just there to make a weird political statement about selling weapons and saying that horseback riding is bad, like horse racing. I don't know. It was an odd thing to put in there. I guess whoever wrote it or directed it felt very strongly about horse racing is what I'm assuming happened there. But other than that, I think it's a worthwhile film to go watch. It's fun. It's a little long, but honestly, it was pretty great. I didn't see the point of killing Luke off at the end. It seems that the course they're taking is to kill off every character. I assume Carrie Fisher will die in the next one. I think that's kind of nice to give each character their own movie to die in. It becomes a little predictable because now we know. But the nice thing is we already knew Carrie Fisher was going to die because she died in real life. And it's sad, but I get why they want to kind of move past the original characters and create their own new story. But I wish they would create it within the universe that already exists instead of creating all this new weird stuff that doesn't necessarily fit the universe and seems kind of lazy in my opinion. So that's my review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. I think that, Luke went a little soon. I was interested to see his character kind of grow more and kind of restore himself back to where he was and become to the point where he felt like he'd redeemed himself, and I don't think that he got there. I think right when he became interesting is when he died. Kind of similar to Merle on Walking Dead, where as soon as he became interesting, he's gone. So that's my review of Last Jedi. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments, and I will catch you guys on the next review.